The town my grandparents were from was where The Godfather was filmed. So everybody thinks The Godfather was filmed in a place called Corleone. No. The Godfather was filmed in Forza and in Savoca. Cawfee Talk. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cawfee Talk, where the coffee is strong and the talk is real. I hope you're having a great day. If you are following me on social media, you're listening to this podcast while I am in Italy. But I didn't want to leave you guys without a show, so I am pre-recording this, and I hope you're enjoying all the posts that I'm doing. I hope I'm having a great time. What I'll share with you is I am going back to the town in Italy where my father's grandparents and parents came from, his mother, in fact. It's called Forza. Forza is a very small town, about 19 minutes, but up the biggest mountain. You have to literally, if you get car sick or if you don't do rides, you almost can't go to the top of the mountain to get to this town because it's just this big windy road. In fact, we went on my honeymoon, and the night before, my husband and I were in Taormina, and we had accidentally found this nightclub in Taormina, and we were like, oh my God, how cool, let's go for one drink. And then one drink turns into us walking out of the place at 4:30 in the morning. We couldn't even take the vernacular down to where our hotel was, so we hitchhiked on a garbage truck. We gave these guys $100 US as a tip for driving us all the way down. We were completely smashed out of our faces. It is still the biggest highlight and one of the best memories I have of my honeymoon. And then the next day we had to go to Forza, and it was not I'm not good in the car to begin with. I get I have motion sickness. So we had to go all the way up into this town. And we got to Forza, and I got to be honest, guys, I looked down at the view of the Ionian Sea. There's Mount Etna, it's right there. And you just think to yourself, I can't believe they left here for the Bronx. But at the time, I don't have to do a history lesson to tell you how hard it was, whether it was during the Mussolini era or the just wanting more for your children and this American dream that was promised. But it's so cool, and I feel so grateful to be able to go back. In fact, when I went back for my honeymoon, I took a bunch of pictures while I was there and posted them, and people who follow me, who went to Sicily, started going back. When they went to Germany, started going to the town, and the town actually reached out to me, and I've connected with people there. So I'm creating a really unique experience for my dad when I get there. And the town is not just a little no-name town. I will give it this. The town my grandparents were from was where The Godfather was filmed. So everybody thinks The Godfather was filmed in a place called Corleone. No. The Godfather was filmed in Forza and in Savoca. And I believe in Forza it's where the church was, where you see Michael walking through when he has killed the police captain and he's, has to go to Italy to hide. And he's walking through the town with his guard. They pass the church. That church is where my grandparents were married. And that church is where I'm taking my dad. And on, I think it'll be October 17th, where my dad, the church is going to do an honorary bilingual mass for us, in honor of the fact that we're coming back, and I'm going to get to walk down the aisle and greet my husband, and my dad's going to get to walk me down the aisle, and we're going to have our marriage blessed in the same church where my grandparents were married. So it's super special for my dad. He kind of has an idea but doesn't know everything. So by now, hopefully it went great, and I'm posting pictures of it. But it's going to be a really special trip for my dad. My dad turned 80 this year, and he jokes, my dad thinks he's a comedian. My dad jokes that he came here from Sicily in a canoe, and he had one shoe and one boot, and they called him Shabooty. this is the mentality of the guy I'm taking to the Vatican with me after this trip to Sicily. So we're going to go back to the town, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. I'm going to film a bunch of content there. But anyway, so the town ended up reaching out to me, and I've connected with a lot of people there. I'm going to look at homes there. My uncle, who is traveling with us, because I asked my father's brother to come and his wife, because I think it's important that my dad sees the town his parents came from with one of his siblings. I'm sure it's going to be special with me and Mike, but I do think it's really nice for him to have that moment. And then he's never getting another gift for as long as he lives. And I hope my father lives into his hundreds, but I'm not buying him, and not even another card at this point. Like at this point, this whole trip, every dollar I've spent on it, this is it. This is his gift for life. Thanks for having me 45 years ago. I can no longer afford to be your daughter. So this is the trip that he's getting. And I'm like I said, I'm really looking forward to it, but I didn't want to not do an episode. And of course, naturally, taking this trip, it's going to be very emotional. And I just happened to be a few weeks ago in Long Island. If you were at those shows in Long Island, I love you, I love you, I love you. Those were two of the greatest shows of this tour. I think it was the most fun I've had on stage in a really long time. Same with Red Bank, New Jersey, but Long Island's where my family was, and my dad came to that show, and we had so much fun, so much fun. And I was with my dad's two sisters, Ursula and Jenny, and there is one sister who growing up was my favorite aunt. I'm allowed to say that. She was my Aunt Rose, and she kind of introduced me to this whole new world in New York City, which was the arts, right? She would take me to see the Nutcracker Suite Ballet. She took me to see Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. What? What are you saying?
I had Aunt Rose too. What was her long form name?
Rose.
Oh, it was just Rose? Mm-hmm. Rose? Oh, my aunt.
What was yours? Rosalina? Rosalie?
Rosalia?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Rosalia. You know.
And Adelina was Dolly, my other aunt.
And they called her Dolly.
They called her Dolly, but
it's so
Adelina,
funny because I just called my mother and I go, what was Adzi Gujatine's real name? And it's like, what? Like, look at how New York Italians, I'm not going to say butchered, but look at the transformation we have. Like, I think her name was Zia Concetta, if you had to say it in Italian. But New York Italians, we were like, Adzi Gujatine. That's, and we said it like one word, Adzi Gujatine. But she was my Aunt Rose. And, I'm taking, I was so close to her, and she really believed in me when it came to stand-up, more than anybody. When I told her before I even started stand-up that I wanted to do stand-up, and she was like, I wish I could win the lotto so that I could just afford for you to not focus on anything else but do comedy, because I really believe this is going to be your lane. And sadly enough, I had started comedy, and she wanted to get an apartment in New York City. She lived in Brooklyn her whole life. And she said, we're going to get an apartment. I'm going to get an apartment, and you're going to stay in it for me. And so that you can work the New York City clubs and you don't have to drive back and forth. And that was a decision we made kind of in the fall. And by that January, my grandma Rose, her mom had passed. And I noticed a real change in my aunt. And I thought it was just because her mom had passed, and then she herself had got a horrible diagnosis with pancreatic cancer, which they have made finally, some real strides in with the Whipple procedure and things like that. However, that was not the case for her. And by May, my aunt was gone. And it was the toughest time in my life because it just was not for any reason to do with comedy or not having, it was just this really weird sense of like, wow, things just change. And I felt such a loss. It was just such a loss for me. But it really provided an opportunity for me to get closer with my other aunts and learn so much about where I came from and why I am the way that I am. And so now I'm going to take this phenomenal trip with my dad. which I'm on now. And my husband the other day said, all right, so we're leaving in a few days and we're going to Italy with your father, your uncle, and your aunt. How much do we have to drink daily? And I'm like, a lot. But no, I think it's going to be a great time. My dad's really fun, and I think it's going to be super magical to be there with people that came before me. So I can't wait to share these stories with you. Kita, do you have something to say? I'm keep checking our coffee order on my phone.
I have nothing to say other than it looks like we're right around 10 minutes, but.
All right, guys.
Well, wait, we can extend this a minute.
Yeah.
So did you have this? Okay, speaking of Aunt Rose, and Aunt Dolly and your Aunt Rose. So I had all these aunts and uncles that lived in the same house. Did you have that too?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Everybody, yeah. We didn't go, even when we moved out, and when we had once moved into a building, we just all moved into different apartments in the building. I mean, there needs to be a little more separation, I think, in some of these houses.
Because when I was a kid, a bunch of aunts and uncles lived in this one house, and they all lived just in a room. It was so fucking cute. And the coolest thing was my Uncle Tony, Constantine, and he was born in the 1800s, and he was in World War I. Which is why I have my tattoos. He had all these tattoos. He fought for Italy, and it was so cool because he was deaf and blind. So when we were kids, we would go to his room. We go to each room. It was like Halloween, and then his room he had candy, and it was in his drawers. But he was also scary looking because he had tattoos, huge eyes because of his glasses, and you couldn't hear anything because the TV was blasted. And we go in, and he didn't know English either. So we go in there and to get the candy, and he was such a cool dude.
Such a different time. Even the living together, I joke like I need space from relatives, but I was just talking to my mom because I'm asking my mom for a lot of stories from my child, from her upbringing, because I think it's really important to the new project I'm working on, and just hearing how like every day after school, like her mom, her sister, her grandmother would walk to their aunt's house and everybody would hang out. I feel like and I've talked about it before on the podcast, it's just such a different time where it's like who has softball practice and who has this after school thing. And I don't think anybody spends quality time, even though it could have been fighting and other things happening during that time. I don't think we spend that level of connection with people anymore. And I think that's why I love having these coffee talks, because I was talking about the podcast with Kita and just having these moments where you really feel like you're just sitting in on a conversation. Even the solo episodes with me, like when I sat down with Billy Gardell, I was like, this conversation is one that I felt like we were all in a room together. He just made it completely inclusive. And when I try and do the solos, I really want you to feel like I'm talking to you. And I do want it just to be people having coffee together, because it's not something we do anymore. We go for coffee. I don't even know who goes to people's houses anymore. Like we meet at cafes. Everything has a less personal connection to it. And I think being on this trip with my dad, and me and my dad have had some bumpy roads, right? I'm a thick-headed, just like him, Sicilian, and I'm very honest and open about who he was, which was an alcoholic the majority of my life, sober now. He's sober 19 years. But I just think it's going to be this, I'm going to get to have breakfast with my dad for 10 days in a row. And as I've been very honest on this podcast, I know that that's something my stepsister and stepbrother wish they could have right now. So with their dad, who just passed. So there's not one moment of me that's not going to really try and be present and in the moment and really, I am so grateful. I am so grateful that I'm getting this experience. I'm so grateful to you guys who have listened and come to shows, because let's face it, if you didn't, I wouldn't have the money to go on this trip. But I'm going to definitely not just be in the moment enough to not post content, because I'm sure it's really, there's going to be such magical and funny moments that I'm going to want to share with all of you. Again, because I feel like we're just having this really personal experience where we're just having coffee together. I hope that's what this is for you. I know Kita and I love it. or he loves it more than I do because it's less pressure on him. But no, I do really hope that you're getting that. I hope that it's really as authentic as I am, because I really only do these so that I can connect with people. I think we're missing that so much these days. And I know we have our phones in our hands constantly, and there's social media and there's FaceTimes, but there's really nothing like really being personally connected to somebody. I want you guys to like my comedy. I want you to like that I bring up things that remind you of your family or your home or a better time for you, or that I share some wisdom, or you get some insight into, my life. But I want it to really be that like we're talking as friends, and I'm in an honest and safe place with you guys. So thank you for that being said. Thank you for having coffee with me. I do enjoy these way more than I say I do. Please mention in the comments what you'd like to hear, what really resonates with you. Make sure you're getting tickets to my shows. Next up is Sanford, Florida, and then Fort Lauderdale, Dania Beach area. I'm really confused because I think it used to be the Dania Beach Improv, and then they changed the name to the Fort Lauderdale Improv. I don't know if that's the same area, but it's going to be the Fort Lauderdale Improv in Dania Beach. And then I added Florida. I added Tampa because I know I only had one show on a Sunday. I had routed that with other Florida shows last year. This year, or I should say next year, 2026, they already gave me 3 shows on a weekend. I'm coming back. Tampa Side Splitters, February 6th and 7th. I'm going to make sure I jump on the Mike Calta show for that. Shout out to Mike Calta. And March 6th through 8th is going to be the weekend of my 46th birthday, which makes me 1 year closer to 50 than I am closer to 40. So on that note, please come see me in Naples, Florida, and let's have lots of drinks together. Guys, all my shows are listed at tarajokes.com. Thank you so much. Ciao. Coffee Talk.